Okay, so you're listening to You Can Fix That in Post with Elise, Dave, and Simon, and this topic is mine, so I'm going to take responsibility, and it is the Coen Brothers. Love them, hate them, be indifferent.
All at the same time.
Yeah, all in the same film.
Yeah.
So we're going to be covering specifically their major successes like Fargo, Big Lebowski, No Country for Old Men, but we're also going to touch on their modern stuff and their latest, The Ballad of
Buster Scruggs.
Buster Scruggs.
It's a hard one to get your head around.
Yeah. So Dave and Elise will be fielding that one because I haven't seen it, but I hear good things, and it's modern, and it's on Netflix.
It is. It's very accessible.
Yes. Okay, so when people say the Coen Brothers, what do you think?
I think violence. I think like a violent movie. But the truth of it is that that's not necessarily true because they've touched on just about every genre. Mm. They've done a bit of everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's important to kind of note that before we talk about Fargo, they did a crapload of films that were all a bit weird, like they do.
Yeah.
And that's like Raising Arizona, Miller's Crossing, Hud's Like a Proxy, Blood Simple, and all this stuff. But the thing that put them on the map was Fargo.
Which was very violent.
Yeah. And very weird.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the one that everyone kind of knows. Most people would have at least heard of it, if not seen it.
Yeah.
It's gone on to spawn a unrelated but sort of related TV series that's, I'm pretty sure, on Netflix at the moment, so you can chase it down. Not actually related to the Coen Brothers at all, but it's I think the first season is based on the film, and then they've kind of done an office thing, and they've gone off on their own.
And it's got Professor Lupin in it.
Oh, does it? Yeah. I haven't seen it, so I don't actually know who's in it. I know that it's like a it's like American Horror Story in that it's like a different cast for each season, isn't it?
Yeah. So, oh my god, what do you call that? I need to have more caffeine to work out what I need to call it. Yeah, an anthology kind of thing.
Anthology, that's the word, yeah.
So, I mean, the thing with Fargo and with all the Coen Brothers works is that they use the same goddamn people every time. Thereabouts.
They add and minus, obviously, to their cast list, but they have their regular players.
So, Franny McDormand.
Well, she's married to Joel Coen, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
That's the most Australian thing you've ever said.
I'm sorry.
Wayne.
Joel.
So she's in Burn After Reading. She's also in...
Dave's actually searching Franny McDormand right now. Francis.
Nah, her mates just call her Franny.
Just Franny to her friends.
Frangipani. So yeah, it's always like the same similar kind of players. I guess that's kind of like
Scroll down, Dave. There it is.
Christopher.
That one, yeah.
So like Christopher Guest has his band of people, and then the Coen Brothers do you know
John Goodman, George Clooney,
Steve
Buscemi.
I feel like Tom Waits has been in a couple. Could be wrong.
I don't know. Maybe.
But yeah, John Goodman basically pops up every 5 seconds. And I mean, and that's the thing. They've done all those different genres. Like, you look at something like Intolerable
it's so
Cruelty.
Broad. That's a romantic comedy. Yeah.
And then they do like a remake of True Grit.
Cut to bloody No Country for Old Men, which is the most
brutal,
hardcore, difficult to watch, violent thriller of a movie.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then, Western as well at the same time. And then, Ballad of Buster Scruggs is kind of a Western anthology. So they can do short films as well as feature length.
And then just randomly they'll do a remake of like, Hitchcock's The Lady Killers, where Tom Hanks plays this weird kind of dude that's totally unlike Tom Hanks at all.
Yeah, and then there's kind of the screwball comedy in a lot of it. They've got incredible range, and they nail it most of the time as well.
Well, I would they nail it most. I'd say there are points in each film where they nail it, but then there's also films where you're just like, why did I watch that? I want my money back.
Yeah, I had feelings along those lines with Inside Llewyn Davis. I found, I know a lot of people love that movie, but I found it a slog to get through.
And that's the dude from Star Wars, right?
That's Oscar Isaacs.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's a drama, but it's just bleak.
Bleak from the Coen Brothers, really.
I know. I didn't love it. I didn't love it.
I liked him in Annihilation.
Yeah.
Because he was.
I like him as an actor. I just he's such an unlikable character.
Yeah.
And it's such a oppressive film. I think that's probably the right word. I don't know. It was Does
your life feel at all better for having seen it?
No.
Is it worse?
I enjoyed his curly hair. It was really pretty, but that was really all I got from that film. He has a lovely singing voice. I'll give him that. He's a good singer. But I didn't enjoy that hour and a half of my life at all. You watched it, Dave, didn't you?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it wasn't amazing, but yeah.
Wow. Resounding.
Just I watched it.
It was a little bit slow, I thought, and yeah.
Well, yeah, they're not afraid to be slow in films, are they?
Yeah.
Like No Country for Old Men will just randomly start talking to Tommy Lee Jones
Oh,
and be like, my eyes are dropping. You're like, oh shit, it's still on, I'm awake.
He's still going with this monologue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, no wonder there's no country for old men. Who wants to
all
pay
died.
attention to them? Yeah. I find it interesting that they basically have no... They're like George R.R. Martin. At any point, anyone can just die.
Oh, yeah, anyone could get shot in the head and die.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, Steve Buscemi, bye.
Yeah, yeah.
Does he live through any of their films?
No! Actually, maybe that's a trope of theirs where it's just like...
put him in a woodchipper and see how it goes.
Oh, he'll just be... confronted by Russian dude.
Yeah, just die of a heart
and
attack.
just die of a heart attack. And then once again, those two people appear together again, because, they're the Fargo guys.
Yeah, Peter Stormare. I don't know, actually, if you pronounce it that way. Apologies to you, Peter Stormare, if that's not how you pronounce your surname.
Oh, he's probably just happy to be mentioned.
Like a thug in just about every single role he's been given. Like he's just
That's not
generally
true.
No, really.
Yeah, he's the crazy Russian cosmonaut in Armageddon. Everything's not working. I hit it. It will work. Yeah. Or he's playing the gay, general, who's to the right hand of Hitler in the Hitler story.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. Or the devil with Keanu.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. No, well, he's got range. Sure.
Yeah, so Fargo. Fargo gets nominated for 1 million awards.
Yes.
Franny McDormand. Don't look that up, Dave. It's Frances. She gets her Oscar for Best Actress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you've got people like William H. Macy and, you got Buscemi. And it's just one of these things whereby it does take its time. There are so many slow scenes.
Yes, a lot of driving in the snow.
Yes, a lot of driving in the snow. And then just random scenes where she's, going on a date with someone she went to high school with. And you're just like,
awkward scene.
Oh, this is really progressing the storyline. Okay.
He comes to this next where she's like, no.
Yeah.
Sit over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you're kind of like, oh, is she cheating on her husband? But no, that doesn't seem like her character at all. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, okay. And then he starts crying, and it's interesting. I guess it's kind of character development for her, obviously.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
You're saying, oh no, she's just a very kind
Yeah.
person. Yeah, it is. It's a good 10 minutes of the film where you're like, what is happening right now?
Yeah. And, you get to know her husband as well, and it's all just a bit too PG rated with her and her husband. It's like, oh, I'm cooking this for you, and I'm doing that for you, and all the other stuff. And sometimes you kind of just go, the fact that they're all, from Minnesota, or,
Oh, you betcha.
Or you betcha, don't ya know. But you kind of think, oh, maybe I'm just in my head thinking she would never cheat on her husband because everything's so sickly sweet because of Minnesota. And, yeah. And then you're like, no, they're that sickly sweet.
It's just who they are, yeah.
But you also get that idea of naivety as if, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing as a cop.
But she does. 100%. Yeah.
But
I love the scene where she goes to do the second interview with William H. Macy. And he says, oh, I'm just going to go and get something. And then she sees him drive out and she just snaps into action. She's like, oh, running out on the interview, are you? And she
Yeah.
grabs the phone and she's like, yeah. And you're just like, oh no, she knows exactly what she's
Yeah.
doing.
And, like, when she first arrives on the scene of, like, the side of the road when the person's been, killed and all that stuff,
Yeah.
she's, like, having a coffee and she's, like, advising people what to do, but she's doing it as if, like, this is the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, have you done this yet? And, oh, I didn't think of doing that.
Yeah.
It's like she's very capable.
And then talking about the defensive wound of like the hand, like
Yeah.
one of the people being shot through the hand into the head, and
Yeah.
yeah.
She's
and then next minute she's got morning sickness and she's about to throw.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Oh, I'm just gonna barf.
Yeah. So capable, but so, like, unassuming. You look at her and you
Yeah.
think, oh, she could die in this so easily.
She's gonna get killed.
But
yeah.
she's just, powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love Fargo. Like,
Yeah.
when I think of their films that you can actually sit down and watch multiple times,
Yeah.
Fargo's
and
one.
get more out of it every
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's officially like a classic now. Like it's become such a synonymous with Coen Brothers. You go, oh, Fargo. Yeah.
Yeah, and people can just go woodchipper, and you go, Fargo!
Fargo. Yeah. Yep.
I guess they're also kind of known for having, like, quirky, weird, comedic moments in all their stuff, but if you had to put one of them in the bracket of comedy, you'd kind of go Big Lebowski, and it's got a huge ass cult following.
Yes. Yeah, it was that other film that you do associate straight off the bat with the Coen Brothers. Well, they've touched on romantic comedy with
Intolerable Cruelty.
Intolerable Cruelty.
With
And
George.
George, yes.
They love George.
They do love George.
And George is also in Oh Brother, We're Out There, which is
Yeah.
very quirky. You wouldn't go, it's a comedy. You wouldn't go, it's a musical. You'd just go, it's a weird-ass Coen Brothers film.
Yeah. Burn After Reading as well.
Burn After Reading.
Is, again,
Funny moments.
I think was marketed as a comedy,
Yeah.
not how you would not describe it as a straight up comedy though.
Yeah, and so is Raising Arizona.
Yeah.
And then you've got things like Hail Caesar, where it's like musically and comedy.
Yeah, they seem to really enjoy having music as a big feature of their films.
Yeah.
Inside Llewyn Davis is set inside of the world of folk music in New York. Definitely not a comedy, but it's heavily musically influenced and has a lot of its actors performing songs in the film. Hail Caesar has musical productions in it. Yeah, it seems to be a big focus for their films. Even like the soundtracks for No Country for Old Men. I'm pretty sure if it didn't win an Oscar, it was definitely nominated for one.
Mm. And then you've got like the folk influence in Oh Brother, We're Out There, where they're like, doing their own version of like a Bob Dylan song.
Yeah.
And touring with that, even though they're on the run from the law and stuff. It's one of those things whereby I wouldn't call any of their films really comedies, but then there are films where you're just like, then what the hell is it then?
Yeah, it's not going to fit squarely into a certain genre.
And they are not afraid to just do whatever the hell they want. Like, so True Grit, they're touching on a Western classic. The one where John Wayne gets his Oscar, basically.
Yeah.
Rooster Cogburn, Katharine Hepburn, all that stuff. And, I mean, also, they're not afraid to collaborate with people. Like, so Bridge of Spies is the perfect mix of directed by Spielberg, nice logical story, but it's written by the Coen Brothers. And if someone
They're
said...
quite prolific writers.
Yeah.
They've done as many, if not more, films they've written than they've directed.
Yeah.
And I think the ones that they have directed have been mostly their own writing as well.
So if anything, get them to write something for you, but don't get them to direct anything for you, because it's just going to turn out messed up.
Well, yeah, or become an instant classic.
Yeah.
Can go either way.
If someone said to me, what's my favorite, it would have to be No Country for Old Men. But if someone said to me, is it an easy watch, I'd go,
No.
no, it's not. Yeah, you've got to like, what is it? Bolt guns and silenced shotguns, and basically don't fall in love with like lead characters because they're going to do that whole, Hitchcock switch.
Yeah.
But they're going to wait till the end of the movie.
And they're going to die potentially off screen as well. They're not
Yeah.
necessarily going to get a glorious death scene.
Yeah.
I do love Fargo. I think it's just so unexpected and takes a sharp left turn, and
Yeah.
but at the same time it's got much more likable characters.
Yeah.
I think a lot of their characters are deeply unlikable.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Intolerable cruelty, deeply unlikable characters. Burn After Reading, very unlikable. Llewyn Davis is just hateful.
in saying that, though, like the lead kind of villain in No Country for Old Men, I like him. I like him in the sense that I like Hannibal Lecter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's an interesting character.
Iconic, yeah.
I wouldn't want to have him for a dinner party, but,
Just flip a coin halfway through and decide whether or not he's going to kill you after dessert.
Yeah, exactly. And the choices of who lives and dies aren't just cut and dry as to, good always wins and all that. Yeah.
Very much shades of grey. So their most recent film was released in 2018. Was a Netflix film, which a lot of the big names are getting on board with because Netflix is kind enough to just make it rain for these big film creators, and they can basically take a back seat and go, you know what, here's several $1 million. Well, probably a lot of $1 million. Go nuts, you can do whatever you want. And so to people like the Coen Brothers, that's probably like
a blank check.
The best thing you can hear, because for filmmakers that like to be experimental, it's it would be music to their ears. So it's an anthology of Western short films, basically, that are all sort of tied together with the same theme, which once you get your head around, makes it a lot easier to follow the train of thought with the film, which is, it's basically death. It's like A Million Ways to Die in the West. In like colonial West times.
Yeah.
It's an enjoyable film, I think. I really liked it. I didn't like it when I first watched it. I think I finished the film and went, that was hella depressing. But then the more I've sort of ruminated on it, the more I like it. And the more I've sort of gotten enthusiastic about it.
Well, I remember seeing you over the Christmas break, and I remember hearing about how shit it was. And then I
really didn't like it because I'm sitting through it and I'm just getting more and more depressed because, well, spoiler alert, but a lot of people die in that film.
It's about death.
It's
an anthology about death.
It's an anthology about death in the West.
Yeah. So over Christmas, I'm talking to you and you're like,
every time you get attached to a character, they die.
And then like I'm talking with you today and it's like, yeah, I really like it.
I really liked it. I think I'm going to go home and I'm going to watch it again. Because like but it's a matter of once you get your head around it, like, oh, okay, it's about death.
Yeah.
It's about accepting death and inviting death and fighting death and all of that stuff. And not all of them are super depressing. There are several little nuggets in there that are like, oh, this is good. Like, this person came through the other side of this.
Yeah, yeah.
There is some music in there as well. Tim Blake Nelson has a song that is like nominated for Best Song at the Oscars. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him perform that at the Oscars because it's a crazy song.
Yeah.
What did you think, Dave? Did you enjoy it?
I did. It was I was a bit surprised, I guess, when I guess it wasn't what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be like the first story, and just continue on the whole time. And when I found it was just a short movie, but I wish I had known the connection with death when I was watching it. It would have made a lot more sense.
So when you were watching it, at the end of it, did you kind of go, I hate this? And then like weeks later kind of go, you know what? I really like it. Was there a evolution of your thoughts on it, like Elise?
Well, I only watched it a couple of days ago. But
so it's still kind of working its magic on you.
It's evolving right now as we speak, I guess.
Yeah.
It's making
with
a lot
me
more
saying,
sense.
no, Dave, it's a good film.
Yeah. One of us.
Yeah, no, I do recommend watching it. It's It's one you got to go into with an open mind because it does rapidly change from short film to short film. It's a massive gear change. So some of them are a little bit funny, some of them are super bleak, and then some of them you kind of feel like you like got a rock inside your chest because it's just so depressing. It's
I feel like you're just describing the exact thing that the Coen Brothers are. Like, you've just summarized what a Coen Brothers film is.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's it. It's on trend for them. It's on brand in that parts of it you kind of like, oh, I just want to like tear my face off to get away from this movie because it's breaking my soul. And then the next minute you're laughing at something because it's so ridiculous.
And the thing that you said at the start of that whole thing was like about expectations. Like, I've had it on Netflix just waiting to click on it. In your watch
list, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm like, it's a Coen Brothers film. Like, I'm going to have the right frame of mind.
Yeah, you really got to be in the zone for it. And yeah, and being pre-warned that, yeah, this is about death. It's literally about death. That, yeah, you kind of go, okay, well, yeah, you got to kind of have your hot chocolate and be kind of snuggled up and be ready to be, like, pounded in the heart because you're going to get attached to someone and then they're going to die a horrible death.
Yeah. It's like you talking about lending your dad No Country for Old Men. And it's just like...
he asked me for a movie that he thought that I thought he would enjoy. And I was like, oh, yeah, of course. Here's an Oscar-winning film. It won Best Picture. You'll love it. It's a Western. You'll love it. And then he brings it back to me and goes, oh, that was a bit depressing. Yeah. Jeez, doesn't have much of an ending, does it? I was like, well, it's a classic film, Dad. It's won Oscars. It's great. He's like, oh.
The good guy didn't win.
The good guy didn't exactly win. I'm like, good guy doesn't always win in life.
And that's the thing. You can have a film where you're just like, ooh, Brad Pitt's the main star, and isn't he funny and quirky, and bang, you're just like, didn't see that happen.
Shit, that guy just got his head blown off.
Yeah. So, no doubt we're going to have to expand upon the Coen Brothers. There's all their early stuff we have to go
there's
through.
A massive back catalogue. Yeah. Plus, there's the films that they've written and produced, but not necessarily directed, that we can discuss as well.
And no doubt they'll continue to make stuff, and they'll pop up on Netflix, and no doubt I'm going to have to be in the right frame of mind to watch them. So this is Coen Brothers Part 1.
Yeah, we may revisit at some point.
And I'd say that if we are going to revisit, you guys should probably engage with us on our social media and on Facebook and tell us about the films that we missed.
Yes. No, do you have a favourite that's a little bit out of the ordinary for a Coen Brothers film?
I feel like a whole bunch of people are going to say, talk about Oh Brother, We're Out There. And I'll be like, do I have to? Do I have to talk about that film?
Yeah.
So what are you watching at the moment?
What am I watching? I didn't want to tell you guys because I didn't want to spoil it because I think it's an awesome film. It's a documentary. It's on Netflix. A lot of people are talking about it at the moment.
I feel like she's going to become a pod person.
A pod person?
She's going to try and start selling us NutriBullet or something.
No, it's the Firefest documentary about the Firefest that happened in 2016. It was this big music festival that was set up by the musician Ja Rule and this other, like, investor guy. And they basically fleeced people out of millions of dollars setting up this Firefest on an island in Puerto Rico or something. And it just failed. It massively, massively failed. People got stuck on this island with no way of getting home. It was all like Instagram influencers and basically rich people that could afford to buy these tickets. And they got done. And there's this awesome documentary on Netflix about it. It's
called
incredible. It's Firefest, the biggest party that never happened.
Do they actually get to listen to music?
No, because a lot of the music acts pulled out at the last minute when they saw how much of a fucking mess it was.
Yeah.
So the Firefest never happened. People just showed up, and there was like crappy tents that were like left over from the last hurricane that had gone through, and all the mattresses had been left out in the rain, so the mattresses were all wet. It was described as like Lord of the Flies meets the rich kids of Instagram.
Yeah.
So there's all these like rich privileged assholes that had no food and nowhere to sleep, and it was just a complete mess. But the documentary is fascinating,
and you can see that on Netflix.
Yes.
Cool.
Because they were documenting the whole thing as they were setting up this festival. As like, it was going to be, look how awesome we
Yeah.
are. Because it was to launch an app that this guy had created like a booking app for booking celebrities and people to show up to stuff. And it was all in service of launching this app through Instagram influencers and hot models and stuff.
Yeah.
And they just completely screwed the pooch on it, and it was a mess.
Well, I think some of the best documentaries are people just following musicians or doing the behind the scenes of a musician thing, and then the shit hits the fan.
And then just letting shit hit the fan.
Like some kind of monster is just like, oh, we're just going to do them with their next album, and then next thing you know, oh, that guy's in rehab, and that guy's suing Napster and stuff. And then, like, Give Me Shelter is, oh, we're just going to cover the Rolling Stones concert. What? Some guy just got stabbed. Okay, let's shoot them reacting to the stabbing. Yeah. So you never know what's going to happen with crazy musicians.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this was just complete hubris of a guy that has just thought he was top shit and that he could do anything, and then when it all falls apart and he ends up going to jail because he just completely misled people.
Yeah. And
fleeced people out of thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Dave, you watching anything?
Over the last few weeks, I've watched 25 movies, either written, directed, or produced by the Coen Brothers. So that's all about all I had time for.
Wow, you really did the deep dive on this one.
Yeah, he went in deep, man. No wonder you're so weird. So the question is, of those 25 films, what to you is their best?
I would probably Burn After Reading. I just love John Malkovich. I don't know.
I know, when they let him off the chain, it's just... Yeah. He's so watchable.
Yeah.
And the guy who's the head guy that was... that's telling them to burn all the bodies, I guess. Like, they have like a debriefing at the end. And it's like, explaining the story. It's like, what should we do with this guy and that guy? And I don't know, it's my favorite scene.
Oh my god. He's the guy who's behind the desk. Oh, it's J.K. Simmons, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, J.K. Simmons, who I think has now won an Oscar.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
He is awesome.
You ever want to see him act like, amazingly... Yeah, watch Oz. Like, it's what made HBO. It's like the prison drama that would be written by, like, some brutal Sopranos guy. But it's just amazing, and he's awesome in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, J.K. Simmons. Yeah. He's also the guy who's gone, I hate you, Peter Parker! Stop bringing me more photos of Spider-Man!
He's got good range. He's done everything.
Yeah.
You could throw a rock in Hollywood and you'd hit a movie that J.K. Simmons was in.
Yeah, pretty much. I have been watching, and I know I'm behind the 8 ball, the 7th season of Game of Thrones, and... I'm so glad I watched it.
Well, 8th season is not that far off.
I know. That's pretty much why I watched it. It was like, the 8th season's coming, and that's supposed to be the last, and then they'll do a prequel and all the other shit. But yeah, and I was quite impressed. And what I really liked about it was that there wasn't a lot of padding and filler. There was 7 episodes. It wasn't like 10. Mm-hmm. And also, you're not having to follow, say... 8 different storylines in different countries. It's like the convergence has happened.
All coming together.
And all these characters that you like who have been part of the 8 different storylines are now interacting with each other. And you're like, oh, I like Daenerys and she's talking to
Jon Snow and...
Yeah, and Jon Snow. And then it's just like, oh.
When you see all those guys get together and go beyond the wall, and you're like, I am so invested in every single one of them. If one of them dies, I'm going to flip my coffee table over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You think if Tormund dies, I'm going to lose my shit.
Yeah. So I was quite impressed with that. I think, to be honest, it's going to sound bad, but there was about season 4 or 5 where it was just a bit...
It got bogged down. Yeah.
And it was like, where is this going? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I was a massive fan of it. And then other than that, I've been watching weird films like The Punisher. Like 1989, Dolph Lundgren... set in...
Punisher has been going on... How many different iterations has there been of the Punisher?
So there was that one with Dolph Lundgren. Then there was the one with Thomas Jane, where the bad guy was John Travolta.
John Travolta, yes.
Yeah.
And then the new series, the Marvel series on Netflix.
Shane from Walking Dead.
He's so good, isn't he?
Is he?
I like him. I really like him as the Punisher.
Yeah. And then there was the other one, Punisher Warzone, where it was the guy from Rome and Dexter.
Oh, okay.
Big, tall British guy. The only guy who looks like he could beat the shit out of anyone.
Oh, I don't know. I think John Bernthal looks like he could do some damage.
He just doesn't have the height.
He's not tall enough.
No. So Dolph Lundgren's got the height and the muscles. This guy
He's got a
from
head like a rock, though.
that is true, but he's got a brilliant brain. He's like got a master's degree from MIT, and yeah,
His knuckles drag on the ground.
yeah. Leave him alone. Leave him alone.
Leave him alone.
Leave him alone.
Well, thank you for joining us for this episode, Coen Brothers. We'll come back and revisit, I think, some of their older stuff. Please get in touch with us on our Facebook page. You can fix that in post. We also have an Instagram page. You can slide into our DMs there if you'd like to discuss any of our previous topics. And until next time, you can fix that in post.